To me, it just sounds like they're not going to have a choice. Like, it's like, look, get on the Bitcoin train, benefit from it. Yes, you're not going to benefit from a lot of the powers that you had when you had a total monopoly on the
Correct.
money, and you basically use the dollar, and now people have a choice. But that's a very tough pill to swallow for politicians that have been operating under this monopoly system that we've had for at the end of I can't think of another time in American history, right? So is this the type of thing where they kind of metaphorically, of course, they have to get their finger burnt on the stove. We know there was a Bloomberg article where it's so fascinating. Hong
Yeah,
Kong, right, was saying, "Hey, we're going to be friendly towards
correct.
this." They had CCP officials in the city putting their stamp of
Correct.
approval.
Correct.
It's very
But that's the
frustrating
point,
as an
right? I
American.
mean, yes, it's frustrating as an American because even China is opening up to it again. It's incredible, right? And the US is being more authoritarian than China. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
So
But I mean, it makes sense. They
it's
have
happening.
they have the most power. They have the world reserve currency, right? Why wouldn't they want to defend that? I
Well,
guess.
but I think Nick Carter's essay from January 2022, where he wrote a really interesting analysis that stablecoins will help extend the US dollar's reign as reserve currency. I think he's right because the technology is so bad. Now, of course, the Fed, of course, didn't want competitors like Custodia's Abbott, or the BUSD stablecoin, for example. If you just look at how authoritarian the crackdown has been, um, they're trying to shove the competitors off to the side. And when I say competitors, I'm talking about competitors to Fed now. It's going to be fascinating to see how people respond when Fed now comes online. Really fascinating.
Yeah. Does it worry you that Alex Gladstein? Here we go. Opti. Let me click it. There we go.
Mhm.
Alex Gladstein wrote an amazing book, and called Financial Privilege, right? And the reality is that if you live in a developed country that has a relatively stable fiat currency, there
Correct.
there isn't a very big incentive for you to seek an alternative. Like,
Correct.
if I speak to an Argentine and I'm like, hey, there's this non-government currency, it can't be debased, can't be easily confiscated. They're like, where do I
They're
sign
like,
up? That
bring
sounds
it in, shoot it in. Exactly.
exactly. This
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But Europe or the U.S., where the bread and circuses is very strong, so to speak, right? And
Mhm.
we're very privileged to have all these financial applications, Venmo, Cash App, all that stuff. Um, does that worry you at all? That people are just like, like Bitcoin's boiling the
Sure.
oceans. It's not necessary.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a process, right? I mean, I got very curious and got myself on the path after the 2008 financial crisis when I got curious why the financial system was so unstable, and the things that I learned in school you realize aren't exactly how the financial system works. Curious people go on deep dives. And I tweeted out this morning, just overnight last night, I had 434 new LinkedIn requests. LinkedIn is not like Twitter. You don't have all the bots. In most cases, these are verified real people, and much more so traditional finance, lawyers, accountants, regulators, people that I went to law school with, right? That's my network on LinkedIn. Very different than the network on Twitter, which is very different than the network on Noster. But 434 requests overnight on LinkedIn is huge. It's just a deluge. And that's the second time that I've had a few hundred just overnight. And it's just accelerating in the last week. It's insanity what's happening. Okay, what is that telling me? Why did I share that anecdote? It's just anecdotal, it doesn't prove anything. But what it is it's a qualitative evidence that there's a sea change happening, that there are more people in the tradfi world who are waking up and realizing something's wrong here. And the system that you work in is not stable. I learned that in 2008. I started to get very, very curious, went on a very deep and very broad intellectual journey. I was taking classes on at MOOCs at night. I was um, doing all kinds of reading and research. and from the Austrian school on one end of the spectrum to MMT, modern monetary theory, on the other. And it was fun because I didn't learn those theories in school. In fact, actually, I still have my history of economic thought notebook in my office here, and it was one of my favorite classes in school. And I went back and looked. Was there anything about Mises or Rothbard? No. Was there anything about chartalism? No. Those were considered fringe theories. Those were not the mainstream theories that were taught in school. So everybody still has to figure out for themselves. It's their own intellectual journey. But the reason I went on this little diatribe is I think that a lot of mainstream people are waking up. I think that they're understanding that what they've been told isn't necessarily the truth. And curious people tend to go down rabbit holes. And come on in, folks. It's time to get orange pilled. You might
Yeah.
not go back out of that hole.
And it's a one-way street. It's a one. I don't think I've ever met someone that's like,
Me too.
you know, understood about Bitcoin. They're like, hey, this dollar thing. It's
Yeah.
sweet. Let me go back there. You know.
But the leap so many have to make is subjective value theory, and so few in the mainstream are willing to make that leap because they want something objective. But what they don't understand is that objective price, it's turtles all the way down. There's something subjective down at the bottom of that price theory. There's always something subjective. And so, yeah, they just have to make that leap. And for a lot of folks, it's just a leap too far.